You're listening to the Sent Ones podcast, where we help disciples of Jesus discover their calling, develop their skills, and get deployed to their mission.
All right. Well, we're excited to jump in with another episode of the Sent Ones podcast. I'm really excited. This is actually one of the first times we're going to say, hey, if you're not checking this out on YouTube, you really should. Because we're going to share our screen and just describe a little graphic here that I think is going to be really fun to dialogue. So I'm going to talk through it quickly for those that are just listening. But this is an image that I found through the you guys are going to have to help me, the Wazan conference, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
And they linked to it. I think they got most of the data from the Joshua project. But in the center, there's basically three circles, not the three circles gospel for those that are familiar with that tool, but there's three circles that I'm just going to explain. In the center, there's one that says 450K, and that's the total number of global missionaries that we're currently tracking. On the right side, there's a really big circle, and it says 4.57 billion. And that's a global estimate of reached people, right? And by that, we mean people that have access to the gospel. That doesn't mean there's 4.5 plus billion Christians, but 4.57 billion people, reasonably speaking, have access to hear the good news about Jesus. On the left, a smaller circle of that is 3.34 billion unreached people. And again, by that, we mean they would live and die without having a clear explanation of the gospel, a clear chance to respond if somebody doesn't go to them. So those are pretty simple terms, but then the staggering thing on this image is the number of missionaries. They have a line for every 15,000 missionaries that are sent to either of those two places. And there's 435,000 missionaries that are sent or going to reach peoples. And you see a ton of lines head in that direction, and there's only 15,000 missionaries, so three little lines that go from the global missionary bubble to unreached peoples. So that's just the stark reality. We could say a lot from there, but I just wanted to explain it and then give my friends Josh and David just a chance to kind of share maybe what's on their heart or even why Sent Ones exists when it comes to this image.
Well, Feeney, I appreciate you, man. Just continue to highlight these important topics for the global church. As Sent Ones, this really burns in our heart. This graphic is something that really compels us for the Great Commission. It motivates us, and it really challenges us to say, God, what's it going to take? What's it going to take to cast a vision, to deploy people, to essentially look for opportunities and resources to get people to the most unreached. And so at Sent Ones, we're all about fulfillment. We're all about King Jesus' return. And so the way that we believe that's going to happen is through every people, every tongue, every tribe, every nation. So this graphic really does propel us forward. It moves us forward in our journey, in our purpose, and really deploying people into their calling. So with that being said, we at Sent Ones, we want to continue to give people access and opportunities to the unreached. And that does start at home. As we look at diaspora and most of our North American context, there are unreached peoples in our back door. And so doing research and finding out where people live is super important. But then beyond that is to continually challenge people to go to the unreached in global cities and certainly around, the 1040 window and beyond. So just want to make sure we're always highlighting those areas in terms of access and opportunities.
Yeah, I honestly, when I first see this, Feeney, it breaks my heart, honestly, because we could probably put up like 3 or 4 more of these as well. That is not just about manpower or woman power, but also finances as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's like less than. The most recent stats are like 1% of all missions dollars are actually going to unreached people across the world.
Right.
And so it's not just bodies that are being sent, but also finances that are being sent, focus, what is being cast vision for. And so we have got to have people who raise their hand, who basically say, hey, listen, I know the gospel is desperately needed in certain parts of the world. and I'm going to be willing to go. Like, I'm going to be willing to raise my hand and say, Lord, wherever you have me, whatever you want me to do, I want to take the gospel to the most unreached parts of this planet, and to raise up as many men and women to do the same thing. And so I know that some of you listening right now, that is burning inside of your heart. And if that's you, man, we want to help you. We want to come alongside of you, and we want to give you opportunity to do that. And so please, if you're hearing this, don't wait till the end of the podcast. Reach out to us, and we would absolutely love to help you get to these parts of the world that desperately need the gospel.
Awesome. Yeah, and I was actually with David a few weeks ago, and we were talking about something similar here. And I was going to ask you, David. I mean, we think about reached peoples, and it's actually one example would be just Latin America, right? It's a huge population. I think there's I remember hearing over 1 billion Spanish speakers worldwide. Most of them are being Latin America. Why would we put them in the reached category and say we still want to focus on unreached? I'm sure a lot of the lines here, a lot of these missionaries represented are going to Latin American countries. And you just had a great word, I remember, when we were together, about the idea of a target and versus the harvest force. And I was just wondering if you could share a little bit there.
Yeah. So one of the biggest misnomers or challenges, I would say, in our missions world is people feel called and desire to go to Latin America and or reach Spanish-speaking people. And in our understanding of targets, we really are saying, who are the people groups and the places with little to no access to the gospel? In other words, there's no known Christians already among that people group. And so when we look at the global population, we look at the Hispanic population, we see a vibrant church in Latin America with enough Christians that exist to reach Latin America. So in other words, the resources are already there. They're a mission force. And so we want to really challenge people to think about, okay, where is there no gospel, there's no disciple, and there's no churches? So we know that Latin America, there are gospel presentations, there's disciples, and there are churches. So we just want to challenge people to think through strategically about targets. And it really does help us think through where should we send our resources and where should we send our people, which then lends itself to South Asia, certainly North Africa, certainly parts of the Middle East and North Africa. As you know, we see all these areas of where we can make great cases and great arguments for these are the areas that we want to push forward with. These are the areas we want to say, let's send our resources and our people to these unengaged targets, to these unengaged fields.
Honestly, I mean, these areas, guys, are unreached for a reason, right? Like, for those things, they are not easy places. And they're most of them are incredibly difficult. They're not easy to get to. They're either some of them are highly dangerous areas. Some of them are just remote areas. Some of them are not easy to live in. And we've got to have people willing to basically be willing to sacrifice everything possible for the sake of the Great Commission being completed. And so we just have to keep that in mind, that, I mean, these are difficult, hard to reach areas of the world where we need people who are willing to go and proclaim the gospel, and then go and raise up local national leaders who can multiply disciples until the whole area is saturated with the gospel.
I was going to say, just reaffirming, Josh, I heard this many, many years ago, and it's always stuck with me, is the fact that they're unreached for a reason. And so just reaffirming that this is a hard task. This is not, we don't want to water this down, but we do want to challenge people to be willing to take steps of faith, steps of obedience, steps of boldness to be deployed into these areas. And at Sent Ones, we want to serve you. We want to help you. By God's grace, we have networks and resources and opportunities all over these areas. And man, we are here to serve you and serve your calling and serve your purpose. So that's the beauty of this Sent One community, is we have relationships all over these areas where we have people that are on the ground, people that are seeing God's expansive kingdom growing. And so we just want to continually remind you guys, we are here at Sent Ones to serve you and help you fulfill your calling and deploy you to your calling.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Sent Ones podcast. For practical next steps or more content like this, check us out at sentones.com, or you can subscribe with your favorite podcast provider. Hope to see you guys next time.